We're beginning to get our first glimpse at clinical data associated with medicines that might be treatments for COVID-19. In this episode of Shareable Science Beyond the Blog, we'll look at that data as well as a realistic time frame for when we can think about a vaccine. Welcome to Shareable Science. Science you can share. We're beginning to get our first insights into the effectiveness of potential medications to treat COVID-19. The data are early, so I want to caution that more clinical trials are still necessary for us to have a fuller understanding. But let me give you some updates on at least two potential therapeutic medicines. The first is Remdesivir. This is an antiviral medicine. It works by slowing the ability of the virus to replicate once it's infected cells. This was originally developed as an Ebola medication. 3 clinical studies read out recently. Some of them are small. The one that I'm going to focus on is the National Institute of Allergy and Infectious Disease study of over 1,000 individuals. This is a double-blind clinical trial. This is the gold standard because it means that neither the treating physicians nor the patients know if they are getting the medication, Remdesivir in this case, or if they're getting the placebo. And the data showed that Remdesivir reduced the duration of COVID-19 by 30%, from 15 days for the placebo to 11 days for the folks on medicine. That's a statistically significant difference. There was a hint that the drug actually also reduces mortality, although that was not statistically significant. We'll have to wait to see on that. And this data mirrors some of the trends seen in some of the other studies, although it is the strongest of the 3. The FDA has now issued emergency use for this for physicians under specific conditions, but this is actually the first drug that we really have in our toolbox that we know seems to make a difference. Now, it's not a home run. Individuals that took this medicine still were incredibly ill. Many of them still died, but it is the first thing that we have, the first treatment that actually seems to be making a difference. The data are less clear on hydroxychloroquine. This is also an antiviral. It slows the ability of the virus to enter the cell, to begin the infection process. It's a medicine that was used in malaria and still in some places is used for malaria. There are a smaller number of trials that have given their results yet. And some of these have shown some benefit. Some of them have shown no benefit at all. Many of them have actually shown that individuals that took this medicine had an increase in abnormal heart rhythms, and that's concerning. We're going to have to wait for more data on this. More clinical trials will probably announce their results in the next few weeks, and we'll have a better sense of what category this actually falls into. The FDA, for the meantime, has issued a warning that people should not be taking this medicine as a preventative. This should only be given through clinical trial approaches in the hospital where you can actually monitor the patient for heart abnormalities. Let's shift gears now and talk about vaccines. So there are 8 candidates in clinical trials. That's amazing. There are 8 different potential vaccines that are being given to people around the world right now to see if they offer protection. And there are more than 100 potential candidates in the preclinical stage of that. This is truly science at warp speed. Some of these candidates, it's even been suggested we might see emergency use this fall. Now, that could simply be conversation designed to excite investors. I want to be really careful before we attach too much hope to this. There's a lot of press right now that suggests that by the time we head back to school, we're all going to roll up our sleeves and get a vaccine for COVID-19. I unfortunately need to pour a great big bucket of cold water on that idea. Let me give you some numbers. There are 7.8 billion people on the planet, and the vast majority of them will need this vaccine. How do we distribute that equitably? How do we distribute it among the 328 million people in the United States that are going to need this vaccine? Maybe we start by saying emergency use will be given to anybody who's in the healthcare system, who's on the front lines. Globally, there's 156 million healthcare workers. So even if we're producing millions of doses of vaccine a month, it's going to take a long time before you and I are standing in line getting that. And that's assuming that the vaccines actually work in all the clinical trials and that they work perfectly, and then that we can manufacture millions of doses a month. So we're moving quickly. We've got a whole set of candidates, and that's good news. That's what we need. But I want us to be careful that we don't suddenly think this vaccine is right around the corner. If you want to dig deeper into the process of how vaccines get approved, there's a great story in the New York Times. How long will a vaccine really take? Here's the reference. I'd encourage you to do that, to look more closely. So that's our update this week. We'll cover more science as we move into the weeks ahead. If you find this valuable, please share this with those around you. Thanks for watching, everyone. Take care, and I'll see you next time.